All right. All right, I'm clicking it. Okay, I think we're live.
Did we do it, Lauren?
We did it. I know we just did this, but like, so this time for people. So, okay, first, hi, welcome. This is my first live on my YouTube channel. This is so exciting, and I'm joined by Joni from the Bite Shop, which is absolutely amazing. We just did a live over on Joni's channel, so if you're here from that one, then hi, welcome back. And if you're here for the first time and this is the first live you're seeing, then we just wrapped one up on Joni's channel. So when we're done here, you can hop over onto the Bite Shot and catch up with that one too. So yeah, I mean, this is amazing. So what we're doing today is we are going to be going through some of the hard light food photos that you guys submitted for the challenge. So for those of you who have been here before, a couple of weeks ago, Joni and I both did videos about different ways to shoot with hard light. So I was talking all about shadows and how the distance and the direction of your light source is going to affect the look of your shadows and how you can use that to create some really interesting shots. And Joni, do you want to just give a really quick summary of what your video is about?
Absolutely. I talked really a lot about sort of how to create that harder look and how the different like kind of windows or modifiers you use, how that can be affected. And mostly the idea that the larger or the smaller the light source is going to dictate the softness or the hardness of your shadows and how to define that hard light. So yeah, it was so much fun to create those videos with you, Lauren.
Oh, it really was. And I think it was fun to explore a topic that isn't seen quite as much, although it's having a bit of a moment right now, hard light. So good timing.
My favorite thing in like the comments is people were posting about the challenge and sharing on Instagram is people saying, okay, now I'm seeing hard light everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I don't know, it's been really cool. I mean, we had over 400 entries to this challenge, which is absolutely insane. And we were saying in the previous live stream, it has been so hard to choose the winners because there were just so many creative images. I mean, I really feel like you pushed the boundaries of like, we gave you the foundations and then you guys were just like, yeah, we're just going to one up you. So it was so much fun. And I think we both got really inspired ourselves from looking at your images too. So
absolutely.
Super excited to have a look. So is there anything else we need to say before we jump in?
We're good. I'm good. You're good.
Yeah, I mean, we have an exciting announcement too after we finished reviewing the images. So stick around for that. And also we will do a bit of a Q&A. So if you have any questions at all as we're going through the session, pop them in the chat box and we'll get around to as many as we can as well. They don't have to be about hard light. We're open for all questions. So yeah, so let's jump in to image number 1.
All right, here you go.
Okay, so we're starting off with this incredible image from Brandon of these figs. Now, something that I noticed when Joni and I were both choosing our winners is that my images are very different to Joni's images. So the images that you see here, if you haven't seen that live stream, then make sure you go over and have a look because you're going to see completely different techniques used in Joni's selection. I mean, I love this image. It is so simple and yet it's so impactful. Like, it's just one of those really striking images that as I was scrolling through, I just saw it and I was like, wow, I really want to stop and just be kind of peaceful and look at this one and take some time about it. And I think the light in itself really makes this image. So in my opinion, if you were to have just taken this with soft light coming from the same direction, so say you had a big diffuser, it may have been a little bit boring because it is so simple and there's so much negative space that actually it would have been a bit like, well, okay, those are lovely figs. But the way the light is coming in and it's creating this shape with the window frame and the shape of the shadows from the figs and just, it's so unusual. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that I love, that I think hard light does a great job of is showing off texture in unique
Yeah.
ways. And so that
Hmm.
front fig where the light just kind of brushes the front of it and then,
Absolutely.
quickly recedes into shadow, but we get that sense of that texture, and that this fig is like, there's that natural organic sense about it, that this is not a perfect fig, which I also
Right.
like. It's got that character. And I think that, again, had you had soft light, it would have filled in a lot of those shadows, and you wouldn't get that striking, like kind of gritty, lived in sort of texture out of that fig that I think is so important in juxtaposition with the otherwise, very clean lines throughout and clean surfaces throughout the rest of the image.
Yeah, absolutely. And another note I made on this one was that I think Brandon has used the perfect depth of field. So it's like just the right amount of blurriness on the back fig. It's not too much that it's like too contrasty, but it's just enough that it really allows that front one to stand out as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
beautiful.
yeah, I love this one.
I do too. Well,
Really
let's
cool.
move on to the next one.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's see, next up in our lineup.
Okay, so this is, again, a completely different image from Needy. So I have to say, I'm not 100% sure what the food is. In my mind, it's sun-dried tomatoes in oil, but I could be wrong. What do you think it could be?
I had thought it was like a pot on the stove, maybe boiling. I don't know what you would do this for, but like boiling some sort of nuts or something.
Yeah, that's what Ben said. Ben's my husband. He was like, it looks like walnuts. So maybe it is. But so I think this image, it is just one big ball of glorious specular highlight. Like it's all about that specular. You've got the light coming right off the surface of the liquid and everything is just shining. And I also feel like she's got such a great mix of a dark and moody feel, but also with really balanced highlights. So like there's a lot of contrast going on. You've got the really dark pan and the relatively dark color of the food, and those highlights just, I love it. It's again, it's one of those images I can imagine it printed and like being displayed, and it's just like a piece of art in itself.
It is. There's something very architectural about this.
Yeah.
And that's probably because of, just the way that you capture like just that little left lip of the pan, and the way that those kind of repeating circles, our eyes really enjoy patterns.
Yeah.
And got some very predictable patterns, but that whether that's tomatoes or nuts or whatever that is, kind of break that up into almost like a floral sort of feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the contrast of that texture with the food being the only thing that's kind of different in the frame, it really makes it stand out.
Yeah.
And it's also, the last note I made as well was also about the color. So before I say what I want to say, what do you think about the color in this image?
I love the color. And I was actually having a conversation with Jenny over at Erickson Woodworks. Anybody who's ever used their boards before, we're working on some custom boards together for some shoots that I'm working on. And I said, I really crave some warmth, because I think that we've seen in the last several years a real move toward cooler tones, a lot of, turn it like, what is it? Split toning, where you're adding a lot of cooler tones into the shadows and a lot of blues, and which is lovely. And I enjoy, but I feel like now I'm craving some warmth. And so images like this for me really speak to that, and I appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think as well, the fact that the food it's kind of the only thing with color in this image, whereas the pan is sort of this dark gray, and then the light looks very white. So it just pops right out of the frame.
It's all about the contrast, which is really why hard light is such a fun medium to play with, because you can contrast in ways that you can't otherwise with soft light.
Yeah, absolutely. I just remembered that I meant to say, if you guys want to see all of the images that were submitted, I have got the link in the description of this video. Let me see if I can find it really quickly to pop it in the chat as well, because we had so many amazing entries. It would be such a shame if you didn't.
And it's so much fun too, because I think that for me, I want to you know, as I'd mentioned in my video, I'd received some, or in your video, I can't remember what video it was. We got a lot of videos, but that I'd received some feedback from somebody who was reviewing my portfolio saying, you know, you could really stand to add some more hard light images to your portfolio. And I think that I mean, there are certainly some like predictable images that we can all think of when it comes to hard light and what you do. But I think that what's so fun is being able to go through now that gallery that we've amassed of those 400 images and really see some unique approaches, because we're all going to approach something from a unique perspective. And so for me, you know, in creating more hard light looks, I'm definitely going to go back to that gallery and get some inspiration.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, I mean, there were so many creative things in there. We can all learn something new for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we move on to image number 3?
Let's do it. Here we go. Dun, da-da. There you go.
Yay. So this image from Chongkai, I feel like it does embrace that really typical glass with the hard light, with the sparkly textures, but it adds a really fun spin on it from that. You know, we've all seen the photo of the glasses and the light coming in on the diagonal and everything. And don't get me wrong, those are great, but I felt like this took it one step further in a creative way. And I think one of the things that really makes this work is the action that he's included. This image to me it's very geometric in that all the shadows are going the same way, and he's following that same line with the bottle and then the stream, and it's all very like lined up. But then and then we've got this like really nice curvy S shape. Hi.
Blaze wants to say hi.
Hi, Blaze.
You go ahead and help Daddy with breakfast, okay? All right, there we go.
Sounds good. Send some over here too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we're just getting started. You're just ending the day.
I know. Yeah, so I'm just loving the shapes. There's so many different shapes going on. What do you think about this one?
Absolutely. And the thing that really strikes me too is the clarity that was in that pour, like that we're getting those bubbles, and then just the magic of then the glass right next to it with the, I don't know if there's, I mean, it's wine, so there's probably not ice cubes in it, but there's like, but it's almost as if there is ice, you know, that ice does that really fun sort of refractive thing where it sends light all over. It's likely just the shape of the glass, but that there's that sense of clarity and that sparkle that is just, it's stunning. It's really stunning.
I would love to know what kind of light that was used for this photo, because for me, when I'm capturing these action shots where I really want everything like that crisp split-second motion, for me, it's all about flash.
Yeah.
And that's because it's really difficult to use a shutter speed fast enough to capture an action that crisply without flash. I mean, it's just like every bubble is so perfectly formed.
I feel like the answer is in here.
That's true. I think I see a speed light.
I don't know if that, although if it's a speed light, it'd probably be more square.
Yeah, true.
Or if it's one of the round lights, or it's a head. I don't know. Chongkai, you're gonna have to tell us.
Yeah, please put us out of our misery. But whatever you've done an amazing job. So
it's beautiful. That's a really lovely image.
Yeah.
Just the idea the repetition, but that you've got that similarity that gives you that sense of balance, but that there's enough that's different to give you a sense of variety.
Exactly. I think, the last thing I was going to say is I love that every glass is different. So like you said, even though we've got a picture of, I think, is it 7? Yeah, 7 glasses. So also great use of the rule of odds. You know, I think that really makes a difference here as well. Because it keeps things feeling a bit irregular, but still sort of like a tied together group. But that variation in the glasses, it's keeping every single shadow interesting. So wherever you look, there's something new to see.
Absolutely. And that very smart in terms of, you know, we talk about balance in a composition, that the right side weighs as much as the left side. Obviously, the ones that have the liquid and the color in them carry more visual weight. And so only 3 of them are filled. And that one of the 3 is also very small in comparison to the empty 4 on the left. So it really, it creates a solid foundation for us. So it doesn't feel off kilter.
Yeah, totally. And the angle as well, I think it's just ever so slightly off of a flat lay. So you do get that bit of depth from the glasses, which to me, it adds a lot because it gives them context. Rather than, I think when you do a flat lay of drinks, if you're completely flat down, they can look a bit like floating circles
Yes.
without sort of any context. So just having that little bit of tilt, it really, yeah, it adds a lot of depth.
Very smart. Something definitely to think about. Yeah, because then otherwise, yeah, the rim of the glass wouldn't be right there on the bottom. You yeah,
Mm-hmm.
lose it. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. That's great selection, Lauren.
Yeah. Oh, it was so hard though. Like I had about 10 tabs or maybe more open, and I had to like keep coming back to it and coming back to it to really narrow it down. Like it was hard.
I know.
So definitely check out the link.
We could have made these like a 2-hour stream of each one
Oh,
individually.
100%, 100%. So definitely check out the link. Have a good look through, like spend some time. There are some incredible photos in there. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and thank you so much for submitting them. And like, don't feel like, even though this is the end of the Hard Light Food Challenge, this isn't the end of hard light shooting. So keep shooting, keep tagging us on Instagram. You can still use the hashtag. We'll still love to see your work, and we'll come along and give it a like and a comment. So yeah, keep
using
shooting.
that hashtag.
I know. So, okay. So the next thing is that Joni and I have an exciting announcement that we have put together a bundle of our favorite courses to get you going with your camera and with artificial light. So Joni and I think one of the things that we have in common, one of many things, is that we both love artificial light. And Joni has an absolutely incredible course. I've taken it myself. It is amazing, called Flash for Food Photography. And it will just get you going with Flash. Like when I took the course the first time, I just sat and watched most of it in one day. And I was like, this is amazing. I get it now. I can do Flash now. So we have bundled up Joni's course and my course, Manual Mode Master, which is going to get you absolutely fluent in manual mode on your camera. And those two things together are going to allow you to just really create images that you feel in control of. And then you can really start playing with light and getting a bit more creative and feeling really confident while you do it.
Absolutely.
And then we also have a fun bonus to go with this bundle. So Joni, do you want to tell us about that?
Absolutely. So we thought, if folks picked up, they're learning manual mode from Lauren, they're learning Flash from me, and you've got these great foundations. What's sort of the third part of the equation is the editing portion of things. And I would say one of the ways that I learned so much about how to edit photos was by purchasing other people's presets and being able to go in and sort of decode how they were doing certain things and the edits that they were doing. And so Lauren and I thought, well, what would be fun is to include, if you buy the bundle, that we would give you a free set of presets that we have custom made with food photography in mind. So each of us submitting 2 different custom presets that can be used for a variety of different looks and feels depending on the images that you're creating, the look that you're going for. What's so fun is that all 4 of these, I've played with them, and you can really see that you can take any one of them and put them on any food photo and just see, the nuance changes between them. So these are not going to be like super wild and crazy kind of presets. These are the ones that we use to take our images and just add that extra like oomph that really takes it to the next level. And you'll be able to see some side-by-side comparisons on the page where we have all the checkout information for the bundle to kind of see that side-by-side that, we know in the editing world, in the food photography world, that little changes make huge difference. So we're including a special bonus of those 4 custom presets just for you guys.
So if you want to get your hands on the bundle, the link is in the description box below. I'm also going to put it in the chat in just a second. We're running this for 2 weeks from today. So we'll be closing up 2 weeks time on Thursday. So if you want to get in on that, then make sure you check it out. We're super excited. Absolutely. So let me jump back into the chat and have a look for some questions. I can see Needy has dropped in and told us what this food is. It's Jaggery.
Jaggery. I don't even know.
I'm really sorry if I'm saying it wrong. And then the next comment is, what's Jaggery? So let me scroll down because I think she's explained it. So Jaggery is made from sugarcane with loads of vitamins and minerals intact. Wow, I've never even heard of that. That is fascinating.
Wow. And
So I wonder, do you boil it, or maybe Needy, if you're still here, please tell us more about how you make this and what it is. This is
I'm Googling it now. Oh, we've learned something new today.
I know. No, see, we don't even learn only about photography.
Well, that's what I love about the YouTube audience too.
Yeah.
I have learned so much about food being on YouTube because it's an international audience, and I'm like you said, Lauren, I don't know what this food is, but it's beautiful and I want to know more.
I want to know what it is. I want to make it. I wonder if I can get sugarcane here. Probably not. So let me see if there's any questions. And if you have any questions, then please do pop them in the chat. We're going to be here for a bit longer, so we're not rushing off anywhere.
Absolutely.
I don't see any just yet.
I love how many people have jumped over from our prior stream as well. A lot of names I'm seeing were joining us earlier. So thanks for for 2 hours with us.
double whammy on a Thursday. Yeah. Okay, right. Here we go. We have a few questions coming through. What is the best way or place to regularly find contests to enter? So this is something we were just talking about on Joni's live stream. So have you entered many contests in your food photography career? Is it something that you do quite often, and where do you find them?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have entered the Pink Lady Food Photographer of the Year before. And some other local contests. I'd say a great place if you want to find out stuff that's going on locally is there are generally going to be some sort of photography clubs in your area. If you just Google it or look for just your local photography association in your country. So for example, here in the US, we've got the PPA, the Professional Photographers Association. I don't know what it is, but PPA. And those kind of organizations, those exist in pretty much every country across the world, will have information about what may be more local to you. But certainly, from the food photographer standpoint, I think the Pink Lady Food Photographer of the Year is pretty much the biggest international contest. And so, I feel like I learn about these things most frequently just through knowing other photographers. And I'm seeing that they're applying to things, being in Facebook groups with other photographers, and not just food photographers, but also photographers of other genres as well, because those can be great ways for you to expand your skills too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the great things about contests is that it opens up a whole world of possibilities for connections. So that's why local contests can be really valuable as well. So don't think that you only should enter the really big ones like Pink Lady. Find something local, because they're going to be where all the local businesses are looking when they're looking for photographers.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Oh, that's a funny question. Question for Lauren. What's your current last name? Okay, so I'm Lauren Karras pretty much everywhere professionally, but Karras is my middle name. My surname is Short, which is not very interesting. But there you go. Lauren Karras Short. That's my first name, my full name. How do you keep the white or details from being blown out in hard light? Do you use filters or just underexpose and fix this in post? What do you think about that? About maintaining dynamic range in a photo?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that for sure, if you, I think it's a fine line. You can definitely do a lot in post. And I think we shared that as one of the emails that went out to the folks in the hard light challenge, is that a lot of times that, you'll have, if you expose for the highlights, then you'll need to open up those shadows a bit. But if you are in a really extreme lighting situation and those shadows are too intense and you're losing details, then absolutely adding in some sort of diffusion. So in the video that I did where I used the different softboxes, I had the smaller 24-inch softbox, but it still had diffusion material on it. So there was still an amount of softness so that there was the dynamic range was fitting within the bounds of my camera.
And I was just thinking something you could do if you wanted to be extra fancy. If you were outside and you don't have control over your light source because it's the sun and you're not using any diffusers, if you're on a tripod, you can do what we call bracketing, where you take 3 images. So one is exposed for the shadows, one for the highlights, and one sort of in the middle. And then in post, you can put them together and kind of recover the detail from the highlights and the shadows. Everything did go through a phase of like HDR, which is sort of what that is, being super fashionable, and every landscape was HDR, but you can use it sort of to a less intense degree in that way if you really are in a situation where you don't have any way to control the contrast between those light sources. That might help.
Absolutely. That's a great one.
Okay. Okay, we have quite a few more comments about Jaggery. That's fun.
I gotta hop in and read these.
Yeah. The boiling Jaggery with water is a raw form of sugarcane juice. This live session has taken on a whole new direction. I love it. Okay. Okay. Andrea asks, the golden spiral overlay in Lightroom, how can I turn it so that it fits the orientation of my photo? I need to remember the exact key that it is. I feel like it's I or something. Right. There's a key. I'm going to find it because I know. I have this in my course as a little shortcut. Yeah. How to check? See, this, just Google on the fly. So there's a key to turn them on and off, and then a key to rotate them.
O is what turns it off and on, yeah? Or is it I?
So it's Shift O to rotate it.
Ah.
Apparently. But if that's not right, a quick Google should figure that out. But I'm pretty sure it's Shift and O is like once you're on the golden spiral, then it will like flip 90 degrees at a time. So whichever way you need it, you can put it in that orientation.
Good question. Those overlays.
Great question. They really are. And they help me so much with composition as well. Okay. Question for Joni and Lauren. Do you ever use luminosity masks for editing food photos?
Luminosity masks, so like applying the brush and adjusting the luminosity?
I guess it's about using the local adjustments. Yeah, masking. So yeah, do you ever use those? I do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about, I was editing yesterday some cakes that we had taken, and it was like there was a slice of dark chocolate cake, and then there was a slice of cheesecake, and then there was a slice of carrot cake with the white frosting on top. And
yeah,
you know, as much as you can manipulate the lighting and try to make it perfect, like if you're shooting chocolate cake and a white cake in the same image, like to grab that balance in camera is going to be really tricky. And so what I did is I just took a brush and put it over the white parts that were a little hot. Now, again, shooting in RAW, we have a lot of flexibility to be able to recover those details. And so just doing a little brush over the top of the white parts of the frosting that were a little blown out, and then just taking down, I mostly what I'll generally do is take down the highlights on that in the basic area. But one thing you can do too that can really help recover some detail, especially in things like white frostings, a lot of times those will have a lot of yellow in them. And so if you take down the luminosity of the yellow, a lot of it will also return for you. So that's another option.
Definitely. I mean, all the time I play with the luminance of each color in an image, and normally the hue and the saturation a bit as well, because that's something that I just feel really helps colors pop. And it's actually something that I've played with in the 2 presets that I made for this bonus pack, is that I've played with those sliders to really help bring out greens and bring out reds and, you know, all those things that make food photography look really crisp. Okay, so we have, how do you decide on the best version of your edit in Lightroom without wasting too much time in it? That's a tough one. So for me, sometimes I have to walk away from an edit and then come back to it. If I'm just going around and around and around, I'm like, it doesn't look right, but I don't know why. I just need to like not look at it for a while and then come back. But most of the time I find editing is okay. I think the more you do it, you kind of establish your style, you have a bit of a vision in your mind of what you want to create. Yeah. And I think just knowing Lightroom really well and knowing what each of the features do help you to decide, what do I need to do to reach the vision in my mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that too, you have to like understand, and this applies for any art. Like my husband does sculpture, and you know, I used to do painting, and I think the issue of every artist is that there's no such thing as a finished work. And you're going to have to accept the fact that, you know, it's never going to be perfect. No matter what but you can still create images that you're super proud of and that are beautiful and wonderful. And so I think that, yeah, just having that understanding and giving yourself a little bit of grace to understand that, you know, at a certain point, like continuing to work on this is not going to yield any additional benefit. And also being cognizant of your own time, you know, especially I think of situations where I'm, you know, shooting for a client and, you know, I've budgeted a certain amount of time for that shoot. And so to turn every image for something that's maybe intended for Instagram into a work of art,
yeah,
may not be the highest and best use of my time. Not that I'm like shortcutting anything, but really having that good sense of like, how much is it worth investing the time into perfecting this image, or is it perfectible, or am I having unreasonable expectations? And I think that speaks to what Lauren said, that, you know, the longer you do this and the more time you spend editing and looking at images and looking at other people's images, and you really train your eye, the quicker that comes, and the quicker you know when you've achieved the level of where the image needs to be and the consistency factor. So if you're feeling unsure about those things, the best recommendation we have at this point in time is to really just spend the time, you know, and be patient, knowing that it's going to take you longer in the first couple of years, and then it will, you know, the further you go down this journey. So keep at it.
Yeah, definitely. And I find it's always a bit of a constant battle with the inner perfectionist as well. I think a lot of us as photographers, we have that. You set high expectations of yourself. So it's good to keep that in check as well. Yeah. Okay, next we have, we've got time. We have time.
We've got time.
Yeah.
I recently submitted photos to a client, and I wasn't in love with them. Part of it was there were, you know, decisions that were more on the part of the client of how they wanted it to look, and it wasn't necessarily the choices I would have made. And I didn't really love the photos, but they were over the moon for them. So it's like, that's the other.
I 100% have had that as well. Like I've sent images off. I would never send an image off that I felt like, wow, this is no good.
I should not put this out there.
I'm not sure that I would put this in my portfolio, but you know, okay. And they loved it. And because it fits their style, and their style's not my style. And, you know, I think that's part of being a photographer as well, is being adaptable. Like not everything you shoot is going to be for you. So.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. What are the best foods to start with? Regards from Italy.
Oh, great.
Oh, I mean, you're in Italy. What good food don't you have?
Right? I feel like my go-to anytime I want something easy, or that I can play with and really get with is produce.
Oh yeah. And in Italy, you're not short of that. I mean, so on Joni's channel, on the live stream we just did, the first image that she shared was this amazing bowl of just fresh tomatoes. And right. And that was such a great example of how great produce can be. There's another one, produce.
Oh,
there's so many. But yeah,
language.
I think as well, in the beginning, I find shooting with complementary colors is easier than shooting with analogous colors. So what that means is shoot with colors that fall opposite each other. So if you're doing tomato, add some basil, like make it green rather than something that's all in the same tone, because it's just a bit more difficult in the beginning to get the same interest going on in those images without working on other things, like really focusing on the lighting and the tonal range and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Because like to me, things that can be really hard to photograph aside from my arch nemesis of life that I've shared before is quesadillas. Quesadillas make me crazy because they're impossible.
Not only are they brown, they're also flat.
They're
and like, what do you do with a quesadilla?
Nothing. Just say no to that project. I'm not shooting. No, I mean, there's ways. But yeah, quesadilla is not a big fan, but things like, and I think that you went through this the other day, you shared it on your Instagram stories, Lauren, like shooting breads can be really hard for that same regard because it's such a monotonous color that it can pose a lot of challenges.
Yeah. And the perspective as well isn't always easy with those like longer, thinner subjects.
Yeah.
Like, how do you look at that and make it look natural? I don't know. It's just some things are more of a challenge than others. So if you're right at the beginning, produce is great.
Produce and cupcakes. I loved.
Cupcakes.
Love to photograph. I could be a cupcake photographer. Like
me too.
Specialty. I would love to pursue that.
That's amazing. Oh yeah, cupcakes are great. Okay, this one is definitely for Joni. Can you recommend a flash unit for a Nikon D7000?
D7000, yes. So most of what I recommend for folks, just because they're economical, and if you're just getting started in flash, I will always tell you to start with a speed light, just because it's economical, it's portable, it's easy to store, and for you'll continue to grow with it. You may move into studio strobes and other things like that down the line, but a great speed light is a great place to start. So for a Nikon, really for any camera for that matter, I really enjoy working with Godox lights. So the Godox, there's the TT685 speed light, or there's the TT864, which those are both speed lights. The reason that I do recommend, if you want to spend a little bit more money for the 864, is because that has a lithium ion rechargeable battery that's in it that will hold a charge longer than your AA batteries will. And two, it's got a faster recycle time. So like, for example, Lauren was showing how she was shooting drinks yesterday. And when you're pouring and you're getting those pour shots, you want to knock off a bunch of flashes really quickly. And so the 860 will be able to recover and continue to shoot a little bit more. Not as much as maybe like a studio strobe, but it'll do a great job. So if you don't mind spending a couple extra, like I'm going to say it's $30 US more for the 864, that's a great place. And then as far as the trigger, because you'll need the flash, and then you also need a trigger for that to mount to your camera, because we're shooting the flash off our camera, not on our camera, right? So that we create directionality and texture with our lighting. And so I really like in the Godox, what is it? The X Pro N is what you would want. It's the X Pro C for Canon, X Pro O for Olympus. It's got a really user-friendly interface on it. It's so easy to set up. There's the X1 trigger, which is also good, but it's to me, it's a little more challenging to learn. I have a lot of, like, in my Flash for Food photography course, that one I get a lot of questions from people like, how do I set this up? So if you're technologically not, technology makes you nervous, then I'd say, spend the extra money for the X Pro N. So that would be my recommendation. I do have, if you want to message me afterward, or just if you check out my Instagram and LinkedIn, my Instagram bio, there is a gear page where I recommend for the different camera makes and models, and based on your budget, what would be some recommended gear. And so both of those are all on that page as well.
Amazing. What more could you want? That was amazing. Okay.
I'm obsessed. It's a problem.
I know. Me too. Flash is the best. It really is. So, okay, next question is for me. Lauren, how can I make templates like your rule of thirds composition template, but for all the other composition styles, golden spiral, diagonals, etc.? Okay, so I have the full pack of all those composition techniques included with my composition course, which is Food Compose. So if you go to foodcompose.com, check that out. When you enroll in that course, you get the full pack. So we've got the rule of thirds, the phi grid, the golden triangle, the golden spiral, and dynamic symmetry. I think that's it. Maybe there's one more. But yeah, basically that way you get all of them. But if you want to make them yourself, you definitely can. I did it in Photoshop. Basically just followed the rules. made a diagonal line and went from there, and just you have to know where you need to meet lines at 90 degrees and all of that. So you definitely can make them yourself if you
like
want
math,
to.
Lauren. I don't do math.
It is some math. Okay. Dimpa says, Dimpna, I hope I'm saying your name right. Where can she find my work online? So, I mean, you can see my portfolio at laurenkarras.com and all my teaching stuff at thatstage.com, but the links are all below.
Say that I love Lauren's portfolio. That for anybody who's looking for a really great example of how to put together an online portfolio, I think Lauren's done an excellent job just in terms of making something that's easy to navigate. You get a very quick sense of her style while still getting a good variety of images. All of her information is readily accessible about her. Like, anytime somebody's like, yeah, I need a good example, definitely go check out laurenkarras.com. You've done a beautiful job, Lauren.
Oh, thank you so much. Likewise.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we have time for a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good one. And I have an answer in mind, but I would love to hear your thoughts too. So Whitney says she's looking to expand her skill set as a food photographer and can't decide whether to focus on learning to do food video next or artificial light. Don't want to get overwhelmed by doing both at once.
Mm-hmm.
I have a thought. I'm interested if it's the same as yours. So my opinion would be learn artificial light first, because artificial light makes video a bajillion times easier than trying to do video in natural light. Mm-hmm. That would be my opinion. And to be honest, I think once you know artificial light, your whole skill set as a photographer and a videographer gets opened up so much. Like, it is crazy when you've only been shooting with natural light and then you really learn artificial light and you nail it, that you're like, wow, I can do so much more now. And it is just, to me, I still get surprised by the impact that light has on images, not only composition and color, but just, changing the angle, changing the distance, and all of those things are so easy when you know how to use artificial light.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say, because for video, and I do a lot of video for clients, mm-hmm. I could not do it if I was using natural light. And obviously that also kind of depends on where you live and what's the kind of weather you're dealing with. I mean, I live in Arizona, which is the land of the sunshine, and it's always, very consistent sun. But at the same time, you think of creating a video. When I create a video for a client, that can span over several hours, just in terms of, capturing all the prep ingredients and then capturing, then the next steps in it. And so the light, even in a fully sunny day, is changing if you are staying in that same position. And so for me, especially if you're going to do some of that speedy stuff, like this pans and you're speeding it up, mm-hmm. you'll see right away that the light is changing. It looks a little off. So having continuous light source. I get a question a lot from folks, and Lauren's got a great continuous light source too. The one that I'm currently recommending personally, and that I'm lighting myself with right now, is the Godox SL-150. Skylar and we eat together. He has a demo of that similar light. It's the same make and model. It's the same brand. It's just a lower powered version. So depending on where your price point is, but it's very affordable. It's only like $280 US. So as far as like our lights go, that's a pretty good deal. And I've been super happy with it so far. So Lauren, you've got a great artificial light.
Yeah. So I'm using Pixapro. I also use Pixapro for my flashes. And I just found out when I was on their website the other day that they are made in the same factory as Godox. So I'm pretty sure in terms of brands, they're pretty comparable. So whenever people outside of Europe ask me for the equivalent or what they should buy, Godox is my go-to. But if you're in Europe, Pixapro are amazing. I love them. I have their flashes too. I have it right here actually, because this is sort of I want to say it's like a midpoint. It's not quite a full-on strobe, but it's also bigger than a speed light. So
That looks like the AD200 Godox. So yeah, it's like this.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's more powerful than a speed light, but not quite as powerful as like, you know, the big units.
Yeah.
That you get. So
for anybody who follows Sean Tucker's channel, one of my absolute favorite YouTube channels on the planet Earth, he does a lot with the Godox AD200, which is very pretty much the same unit as that. And another thing too, this is the funny thing when you get into lighting, it's like they put different names on it, but it's all the same stuff. And so if you see Flashpoint, which is what Adorama.com sells, that's the same as Godox. So
yeah. And I see Andrea here. He said, I think Godox is the same as Pixapro. I think it is the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I like. So I imagine then our lights, they're probably pretty similar. Yeah. Okay. I think we made it to the end of the questions that I can see.
Yeah.
Which is good timing. So yeah, I think we're done. I mean, thank you so much, Joni, for joining me on that stage.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I don't know if we should tease this here or not, but we're kind of pondering the idea of getting together at some point in person to do something together.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
I don't know if anybody likes workshops, but we might do something. So if you're excited about that, let us know.
Cool. Okay. Well, yeah. So for you guys still here or anyone watching later, the link to the Jumpstart bundle is in the description. It's available for 2 weeks. So if you want to learn your camera and learn Flash and get some bonus presets, then make sure you hop onto that. There's also the link where you can view all the submissions and of course a link to Joni's channel as well. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today and thanks for all the amazing questions. I'm sure we'll be back with another live at some point. So yeah, hope you have a great rest of your day, whatever time it is for you, and we'll see you soon.
Bye guys.
Bye.